What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great Monday night. Hoping to have a great week here. We've got some news going around the NFL, a lot of things happening, and about 9 days away from free agency beginning. So we'll get some news on the Eagles re-signing people, all that, great stuff in between. I'll keep you up to date, but we're going to go through each day, and I'm going to be dropping one of these videos for you, at least one per day. There's going to be a couple days where I get a couple in at a time, but we're going to start this bad boy off talking about each and every free agent at each and every position. So today we started off with the most important position of all, the quarterbacks. So thank you for taking the time, ladies and gentlemen, but let's jump right into this. And again, this is not a live video, but if you have any thoughts and who your favorites are, whatever is on your mind, please feel free to leave it down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Whether you're an Eagles fan, you're a fan of any team, you will get information from this, but we'll take a look at the full list of the quarterbacks. Then we'll look at the Eagles quarterback situation, who they have under contract, who is a free agent. We'll do that with each position. And then, of course, the top 5 candidates that the Eagles should be looking at, in my opinion. Now, it ended up being 6. I gave a little honorable mention in there, so we'll get into that, but let's start it off and let's take a look at all of these free agents. And there are a couple lists here, so bear with me here. Here is the first list, and predominantly guys that have had some starts in their career, but some guys at the end of their rope, some guys hopeful that maybe they could have a starting position somewhere. But you see some intriguing names here for sure, but obviously, Lamar Jackson, the biggest name on that list. And, hopefully he gets a deal there. But if not, hopefully he finds a team that will pay him. But that's obviously not going to be somebody that the Eagles are going to be looking at. That's not really a possibility. So we're going to be looking at some other names. But you see guys like Gardner Minshew, the Eagles are there. You've got Baker Mayfield, Drew Lock, Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold. I know those names will get a lot of people excited. Jimmy Garoppolo out there. Mike White, so Carson Wentz even. So there are plenty of names for you guys to be looking at here. And then the next list, I wouldn't say the next tier exactly, because there are some other guys that are better than some of the other guys you saw there. But again, just kind of broke them down as much as I could into alphabetical order. But you see guys like Phillip Rivers and Cam Newton added on here. I did have Geno Smith, but right before I made the video, he was signed by the Seahawks. So congratulations to him. But you see, this is your next tier, in my opinion, of backup quarterbacks you could find in free agency here. Now, there are a few guys that will be listed. You will see this with each position, but I'm going to separate them. So you have your restricted free agents and you have your exclusive rights free agents. So your restricted free agents are just the guys with 3 or more accrued seasons, and those are the ones that you can place tenders on: first-round tender, second-round tender, right of refusal, original draft pick tender, all that stuff. And if somebody signs them, then you can get draft pick compensation, or you put that right to refusal. So if somebody signs them, you can match that offer. So that is the restricted free agents. Then the exclusive rights free agents are the guys that are under 3 years of accrued seasons. So those are the guys that they either sign for the league minimum with their team, or they're pretty much shit out of luck. So you will see them on the free agency list, but not necessarily free agents. So you see the full list there. Now, let me know down below, who do you see from those lists that you would like to have as the Eagles backup quarterback? Maybe you're a fan of another team. Let me know who you think your team should be picking up, whether it's a backup. Maybe you think this guy could be a starter. Would love to hear your thoughts on that full list of free agent quarterbacks. But let's jump into this and take a look, as an Eagles fan, at the Eagles quarterback situation. We're going to do this with each position, take a look at what they've got going on, so we can see how much emphasis they need to put on this position during free agency. So you look at the quarterback, you see, we know QB1 under contract, and we know he's going to get an extension, so excited about that. But you've got Ian Book as his backup. We just saw Gardner Minshew on that list there. So we've got one free agent there. So that, honestly, it leaves a big hole. You feel that probably want a veteran quarterback to be backing up Jalen Hurts. Ian Book isn't exactly that guy. So if you go out, you draft somebody in the later rounds, you feel a little bit more comfortable letting go of Ian Book, maybe bringing in a veteran quarterback. That I would totally be understandable with. And we always do that, bring in Nick Foles, you bring in a Joe Flacco, whatever it may be. So a very important position. So you know that the Eagles will be looking at quarterback, but they don't need to be looking for a starter. Obviously, you know the media will try to get that going, but I'm good. So we're looking for a backup here. Now let's take a look at the top 5 candidates for the Eagles to be looking at. And I, again, added a 6th one, and let's just talk about him first and foremost. Not exactly the same, play style of what we are running here, but an intriguing quarterback nonetheless, Mike White, 6'4", 218, 27 years old. And, he was originally drafted by Dallas and, really didn't do much there. And until he got to New York, did he really start playing? And look, I'm not saying this guy is like some kind of, amazing quarterback or anything like that. But you see last year, he started 4 games, 58.9 completion percentage, had over 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's not great. Sacked 9 times, and that's total QBR. So that's out of 100. You guys know they incorporate all the rushing, the passing, the downs. Everything's incorporated that. So that's not just QBR, but take all that with a grain of salt. But then you've got the, not much rushing stats, no receiving there for him. But look, this kid, again, no numbers here are jumping off the page at you. Here's his career stats. Look, he is nothing that I'm writing home about, but if you're looking for a guy to bring in as a backup, you draft someone, maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable with Mike White, Ian Book battling it out for that final position with a younger guy, maybe a veteran guy too. Whatever you want to do, I know they put a very, it's a very important position, quarterback, but so is the backup. So we will be looking at all over the place. And I think when you're looking at, bottom of the barrel here, I think Mike White could definitely be that kind of guy that brings you a little something different into this offense. Maybe they want to see what that looks like. Hey, just throwing it out there. I thought, for him to be able to come in and look better than Zach Wilson, that was pretty hilarious. But let's get into this top 5 now. 5 guys I think could be pretty good backup quarterback. Not exactly great, some of these guys, but we'll talk about those each as we go through it. So let's talk about this. Started off, number 5 here, Case Keenum, 6'1", 215 pounds. And look, he's been doing his thing for 11 years now. He's 35 years old, so we talk about that veteran quarterback. This dude has played for Houston, the LA Rams. Man, he even played for the Rams when they were St. Louis. And he got Minnesota, Denver, Washington, and most recently, Buffalo. And, he really didn't do anything because you've got Josh Allen there. So, yeah, he came in for some garbage time, so those stats really don't show you much. But throughout his career, this dude has thrown for over 14,000, almost 15,000 yards, 62.3 completion percentage, 78 touchdowns, 48 interceptions, sacked 125 times. But look, he's elusive. He can actually run the ball too. And I think, having that certain skill set in this offense could definitely be beneficiary. And he has shown he can come in and be a starter when needed. And I think at the age of 35, we talk about, a veteran presence. I would be perfectly fine with the Eagles going after Case Keenum. So let's keep this train moving. Let me know how you feel about Case Keenum. Is that somebody you would take on, whether you're an Eagles fan or somebody else? Is that a quarterback you'd be willing to have as your backup? Now on to the next guy. This isn't one of my favorites. Almost didn't even put him on here, but I know a lot of people love this guy. And look, he's had 8 years in the league now. He's 29 years old out of Oregon. We remember that year back in 2015 when he was the 2nd pick. And, Chip Kelly was the coach here. We thought we were going to trade for him, all this crazy stuff, but things didn't work out. Went to Las Vegas, now most recently in Atlanta. But we know his skill set, right? We know what he was able to do. We even saw it last year. He still had 438 rushing yards. He could still use his leg. He is a dual threat quarterback, but 61.3% completion, and that's not great. So we know that though about Marcus Mariota. He is not a starting guy, but I think, for me, thing of it is he threw a tantrum after he got benched. So not exactly the kind of guy I want in my locker room, but I totally understand a lot of the people that are talking about, he fits the play style. You see in his career over 15,000 yards here, 62.6 completion percentage rating, and, 92 touchdowns, 54 interceptions, 183 times he's been sacked. But look, he can run the ball too. We talk about it. That dual threat capability is something that would definitely help. So definitely a candidate for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me know how you feel. Again, I don't like how his season ended there in Atlanta. So for me, not exactly one of my top guys, but would love to hear your thoughts on that. And now let's get into number 3, Joshua Dobbs here, who, man, I thought he looked pretty good when he was able to step in for Tennessee, a 4th round pick in 2017. by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has played for the Jags, the Browns, the Lions, and now most recently the Tennessee Titans. He has played 6 years in the league. He's only 28, but he brings you that veteran leadership that I think we could use in this locker room if, obviously we let Gardner Minshew go. But you see, last year he was able in his 2 starts to do a couple things, and 58.8 completion percentage isn't great, but look, he is a dual threat quarterback, somebody that can use his legs, and I think given a better roster, this kid could actually do some things. Now, I'm not saying he's starting caliber or anything like that, and you see in his career hasn't really been given a chance. Those 2 starts were his first in his career last year, so I think given the opportunity, he can get things done. He has shown, especially as a backup. So we're talking right now for the Eagles as a backup. I think this kid, he would be super cheap. And you got to remember the Eagles right now, we're trying to bring back a lot of free agents, give Jalen Hurts that new extension. So I think, you could be looking on the cheaper side of things. I think Joshua Dobbs could be the perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, on to number 2, Teddy Bridgewater. And this guy, a journeyman, and definitely didn't, pan out being a first-round pick, 32nd for Minnesota after that injury, and that was unfortunate. But the man has been able to stick around and show that he's still got it, which is pretty awesome. So, he was drafted by the Vikings back in 2014, but he's played for the Saints, Panthers, Broncos, and Dolphins. He's only 30 years old. He brings that veteran leadership, doesn't necessarily have the legs that Jalen Hurts does, but, he can use them. It's just he is definitely more of a statue back there. This is not your dual threat kind of guy, but he can use his legs. Don't get me wrong. It's just not of the same mold, but I know a lot of people have been talking about this, and you want to bring maybe a little something different into the room. Okay, I get it. But you see how he did last year with his 2 starts in 5 games for the Dolphins. And look, I thought he did decent. Think he's still got a little left in the tank, but I don't know. I think he's going to demand a little bit more money than what we are going to be willing to pay for a backup. You see his career stats here, over 15,000 yards. So you're looking at guys, some veteran guys that, have proven what they can do, and obviously proving that they are good backups. So not talking about starters here, but I think those are some great candidates. But the number 1 guy, we've been looking at him. You saw him on the cover of the damn show, Jacoby Brissette. And we talked about him before he went to the Browns last season. Obviously, the familiarity there with Nick Sirianni, that is just something we all figured, maybe we could bring him in a 3rd-round pick by the Patriots back in 2016. He's played for the Colts, Dolphins, and most recently the Browns, but you can't blame him. He was given an opportunity last year to go start for the Browns, had 11 starts in there, threw for over 2,600 yards, had 12 touchdowns, but he can run the ball too. We talk about that dual threat, and look, maybe he's going to cost a lot more than Joshua Dobbs, but maybe he costs you a lot less than Teddy Bridgewater, and I think he puts you right in that middle of the pack kind of thing where it's an important position to have. We know we've got a dual threat quarterback. He's a beast, but anything can happen, so you want to be careful. This guy has proven in his career over 10,000 yards as most of the time a backup, but he has gotten 48 starts. So he's been sneaking in with New England, doing it with Cleveland, Indianapolis, and each time I really have liked what he's been able to do. You see 3.9 yards per rush, 10.7 yards per completion. So the guy makes plays, and he's got 15 rushing touchdowns, 48 passing touchdowns in his career. So I really like what Jacoby Brissette brings to the table, and I think he would be the perfect fit for the Eagles' backup quarterback. But I would love to hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. That is all I've got for you right now, but let's continue this conversation. Leave some comments down below. Let me know who are your top 5 candidates for the Eagles, top 5 candidates for whoever your team is. Maybe you think I left somebody out or this, that, the other thing. I am going to do some trade candidates for some of the other positions, but this one, didn't really see anybody I liked. So that's what I'm rolling with, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the free agent quarterbacks here. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all have yourselves a great night. Stay safe out there, and as always, go Birds!